Hello and welcome to the Two-Man Power Trip of Wrestling. I am your host, JP Job Paz. With me today, a very special guest. He is, of course, a former WWE superstar, NWA World Television Champion, and, of course, a political commentator you can see on Fox News and Fox Nation. He is, of course, Just Tyrus. Tyrus, welcome in. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing good, good. Sorry about all the technical difficulties of what's going on, but what's going on in your world? What's the latest?
What I just came off of a successful pay per view with NWA, so I'm feeling good about that. And then, of course, book signings left and right because the success of the book is doing pretty well. And of course, having the number one late night comedy show on TV doesn't suck either. So it's just a busy time. It's a good, you know how it is. It's all at once. It's always peaks and valleys. It's never in demand, but I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the book Just Tyrus, a memoir, just got it in today. So awesome stuff here. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, it's really about accountability and how your reactions dictate more about you than what people say about you. And I talk about that a lot in the book. The advice my grandmother gave me once, I was upset and basically got hit in the mouth. And what she said to me, it's not what other people do to you, it's your reaction that you're judged by. And that always kind of set home with me. And it's oftentimes when we do get things don't go our way, our reaction is what people look at as the register. So it's a lot about that. It's about just taking accountability for yourself. And when you do have uh, hard times and things do happen to you, blaming the other person or blaming the situation, you can't grow. So it's about looking at what you did and what you could have done better. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, but if you always look at it, there's always something you could have maybe done differently. And if you put the onus on yourself, it's a lot easier to get through it and move on because you're not waiting for anybody else to apologize.
Yeah. How did the book come about? Like, did you always wanted to write it, or did the publisher want you to do it?
No, I would always. That was one of the things on my bucket list that I wanted to do when I started doing comedy on Fox and political comedy at that. One of the things I wanted to do was to try my hand at writing a book. I've been successful in wrestling. I've been successful on TV, and it was just one of the things that I wanted to do. And so I said, I'm going to do it. And my goals weren't that lofty. I thought maybe if I broke into like the top 500 or something, that'd be pretty cool. Something like that. I didn't anticipate it selling out within the first 6 hours and um, being number one on Amazon and New York Times bestseller and Wall Street Journal and all that stuff. I wasn't anticipating any of that. It was surprising. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out, but it's a great feeling. Like you put your words out there and it's resonating and people are reading it the right way. Their reviews are one of the things I read through a lot, and especially on Amazon, thousands of reviews, and it's kind of the same thing where a lot of times we don't necessarily share the same genetic makeup, or but we all have similar struggles, and people recognizing like how they work through it, I think is pretty cool. So that wasn't anticipating that as much either. So I'm pleasantly surprised and excited, and already started working on my next project.
Nice, awesome. New York Times bestseller. Is it mostly like wrestling fans, political, fans,
It's a
or
it's a little bit of everything. It's people, and a lot of them are people that from who are just basically walking up, and go, "Huh, what's this?" So it's coming from all sides. It's nice. Uh, Wrestling fans always support. They're they're very unique in that way, to where they kind of uh, rally around you and tend to, when you want to see you be successful. And then the same thing with Fox News fans, and then just general fans that I picked up along the way, and from acting career and stuff like that. So it's a lot of different people from a lot of walks of life, and I'm cool with that. I like that. It's not necessarily a set audience.
hard to write it, easy to write? Like, like just
Oh,
in
hard.
the experience of
Just
doing it.
just hard. Pain in the ass is the only way to describe it. Like, it's just you the writing a book is just like anything else. There's a formula to it, and if you're trying to cook for the first time, excuse me, or write for the first time, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I've always been the kind of person that wants to learn it as I go. I don't really trust much in people trying to do something for me, or like ghostwriter and things like that, because I'm always thinking, well, what if they get bored and just decide to fill in blanks? You know, it's my life. So I had a really great writing coach, Chris Epting, who's really worked with me and continues to work with me. And it's a process, you know, and building the format, and it's a challenge, and it's an art form, but also it's a highly skill set, and I had to learn on the fly. And so it was frustrating at times. You know, you think that you have a direction, and the book kind of changes, and like you have a plan, but the plan's going to change, and by the time you finish it, you're going to have three or four different messages in your head, thinking, well, maybe this way, and then you present it, and luckily for me, I went back to my original goal of being accountability and owning your own stuff. So, but it is a process, but you are. I would encourage anyone, even if you don't publish it, even if you write an op-ed on yourself, if you don't want to do all the work. But I think everyone should write about their lives, and their look back on things and look in a perspective. And I think you'll have a better understanding, not just of yourself, but also with some of the relationships you had. And a good way to look at, to learn, you know, to learn in the present is by focusing on what we've done in the past and learn from our mistakes. If you don't learn from it, then you're going to continue to fall in the same trap, you know. And if you continue to surround yourself with bad people and you don't learn from it, well, you're going to surround yourself. The people will change, but it will be the same behavior. So it's a book, honestly, just about owning your stuff, and you can turn things around when they don't go your way.
Is it almost therapeutic in a way, you know, as you're writing it?
Yeah, it is. Writing your own book, and I don't know if my book is therapeutic to anybody else. I wouldn't even try to act like that. But for me, yeah, it is therapeutic in a sense, because you're working through your own stuff, and as you go back through memories, and you know, you're not going to lie to yourself. I mean, you might convince yourself, you know, but when you're really looking at things, and I thought it was important to tell it like it was, not how I'd want it to be, because sometimes you can paint yourself as a little bit of a hero and a good guy all the time. You know, it's always the other guy that's the bad
Yep.
guy. But in this book, there's a lot of situations where I was the bad guy, and I have to own that. So, and I think that's important. I think that's why it's resonating. It wasn't I've been a lot of things, had a lot of jobs, but I've never been a victim. So, and that was important to talk about that. The victimism in this first world that we're seeing on TV and stuff every day, when people are victims to like stuff that literally all they have to do is say no, or stop, or not follow somebody anymore, and not watch a TV. Those aren't real problems to me. So, and I think we get away from the real issues that we're dealing with when we get caught up in stuff that doesn't matter, and makes for talking points on TV.
Big time. It's a big problem. Maybe more so from the left than the right, but it could be a little mix of both, where like the victimism
I
and
mean, both sides
yeah.
you know, have ridiculousness in it, because that's just the way, unfortunately, it is. The problem is we got to stop giving the microphone to the extreme rights and extreme lefts. You know, like the people who are in the middle, who are just going about their day and trying to do the best they can. They don't usually have a whole lot of time to get on Twitter and get on the microphone and complain about doing the work. So that's the disconnect. And then the media is responsible for trying to convince us that they're the majority. You know, that's where the disconnect is because you walk outside your house and you're not seeing a lot of these first world problems that they're claiming about, you know, but you're dealing with real world problems every day. And so there's a huge disconnect. And I think most people are kind of getting smart to the media stuff and the angles, and they're starting to look more into things and question things, which is always good.
Do you think fake news, you know, as Trump said it, is that like as prevalent as we think it is? We weren't aware of it. Now we're super aware of it. Is it
Yeah,
really as prevalent?
I think the problem is that when Twitter's your scoop and your source, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. Journalism, great journalists, we used to never know who they were. We knew the story, you know, and we've seen. And I'm not a journalist. Like I'm a comedian, and I give my educated opinion on when I look at a situation, and I try to find some humor in it. That's my role at Fox News. I don't. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. I said, but I give my best spin on it. But I don't. It's not the gospel. And when you get people claiming to be journalists who go on TV every night giving their opinions, that's a problem. And they're not doing the work. And we're seeing that with a lot of situations where there has to be a retraction written because they didn't follow the investigation, or they just were so in such a rush to get it out because news has become profit. So you get a hot take out and it's not accurate, but it gets you going viral and all kinds of hits in your newspaper. It's a win for them, and then they'll just fix it later on page 45 of the internet paper. So I mean that's an issue.
It's pretty sad though to think like you have to almost like double, triple check, these journalists, quote unquote, like these guys, because you're like, wait, that can't be true. Like, they'll report one thing about Ukraine, then over here reporting another thing. It's like you almost have to triple check everybody. It's nuts.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, you should anyways. Whenever you're trying to get to the truth is usually somewhere in the middle, and the middle is a wider lane than it used to be because people stretch everything so far. And you also have to, I think you have to watch. A lot of times you need to research and look at things you disagree with to see where they're coming from. See, a lot of times when we're dealing with, they say left, right, or whatever, progressive or Tea Party or whatever the situation is, when you don't educate yourself on where they're coming from, you have no dialogue because you have to find common ground somewhere. You have to know something about, even wrestling. You just don't walk in and just wrestle a guy. You know him, you film study him. You don't just, you try to find things that you can take advantage of and similarities and things they're good at and their strengths. It's the same thing in life when you don't bother to research, you just go, well, they disagree with me, so they're wrong. They're the devil or they're a horrible person or they're this or they're that. It's a lot easier and sensationalizing, making them into a real villain. And it also makes it to where you don't have to be accountable. Because, I don't like them. Why? Well, because they're liars and scoundrels and they're all the same. Well, okay. Well, we've heard that talk before, but now it's being used on someone's political beliefs. It's the same thing. It's the same formula. They just change the hat. And then, unfortunately, people still put those hats on and fall for that stuff. But we just have to you have to make informed opinions. And the one thing about having so much access, with the internet and stuff, is you should be able to look and sift through what's BS and what's not, and you need to question and challenge things. But also it shouldn't be a full-time job. You should not be on the internet every day looking at news angles and conspiracy theories and things like that. You need to live your life and put things in perspective. Most people's political hat only goes on during voting time. The rest of the time they're trying to raise their family and work and do what they need to do to be better them, and we need to remind ourselves of that.
Definitely. It's pretty funny. Like in the book, I know so many people probably mention like, oh, Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg, like to you. But it's funny. It's like Snoop Dogg and then Dana Perino. You know what I mean? It's like
Yep.
such a wide range, right? You get that a lot?
Yeah.
Like, wow, what a wide ranging guy.
Well, success mirrors, and although Dana Perino and Snoop Dogg have clearly different careers, but they have the same kind of work ethic to get where they're at. And when you're trying to be the best at something, and you have the opportunity to be around people who have done really well with success and wearing different hats and doing different things, getting under their tree of knowledge is invaluable. I mean, you're learning from two of the best in terms of getting work done, doing well, doing things at a high level, multitasking. So they have a lot of things in common, although their genres are clearly very different. But you'll find that with successful people, there tends to be similarities in terms of preparation. And Snoop is always prepared, and you don't see a lot of that because of what what you see as the artist and the performer. But behind the scenes, he's a rolls the sleeves up work guy, and Dana Perino is the exact same thing. Like she's always working. Like she's always she's one of the last true great journalists. She tells the story. And when she gives her personal opinion, she lets you know before she does it. She reports the news as it is, and I respect that about her a lot. So always learning from her.
It's almost the same thing with like your wrestling career and Gutfeld. It's like you're the bodyguard for Alberto Del Rio, and then you're the bodyguard, quote unquote, bodyguard for Greg
Right.
Gutfeld, who's a hilarious, great comedian. It's almost like the same thing. It's like, wow, what an interesting life. Like, wow, crazy to go from one world extreme to the other.
Yeah. Oh, at the end of the day, you got to have talent. So whatever you're going to do, bodyguarding is about being street smart and obviously being able to throw the hands a little bit, and you have to be aggressive, but people have to respect you. And being intelligent helps a lot. So, and then with Fox, just coming on and just filling my lane that no one else has. No one does what I do. No one shows up to work with their hat on backwards and just tells it like he's thinking it. Um, so as I grew, the more things I was able to do at a high level, the more independent I got to be. You know, and now I'm my own cat. I don't stand behind anybody anymore, and way up in front. So, but again, they always look at working with Alberto was great. El Presidente, as I like to call him, being a part of that. The feud with Edge and Christian was every day was figuring out a different thing, but it was fun, and also when you can play at a high level, it's a great confidence booster.
What's like the big misconception about you? Because I feel like even in wrestling and then in politics, do you feel like there is a big misconception about you?
No, I think the problem is people don't know. I don't talk a lot about my personal life very much, and I really separate the two. I also, when it's when I'm off work, you very rarely catch me on social media and stuff. So uh, I haven't like a lot of times I'll hear, because I'm a wrestler, a bodyguard, that I'm super aggressive, or that they try to like make up situate like, oh, he's a teddy bear. I always hear that a lot. Like, oh, he's a really sweetheart, and I'm like, you don't really. I wouldn't characterize myself as a teddy bear. I'm very sarcastic and
Right.
very uh, kind of a smart ass a lot. So I like when I see when people describe me who don't actually know me. It's kind of entertaining to me a little bit. Like I can baby face it up with the best of them, but I got a little heel streak in me from time to time. So people who don't know me, when they try to tell me, because I enjoy that a little bit. I like hearing the different scenarios of me, But with me, it's pretty easy though. What you see is what you get. So
I feel like in wrestling too, it's like, okay, he's this ginormous guy. He's a bodyguard, this, but then doing the Funkasaurus and being Brodus Clay, even that kind of throws you for a loop a little bit. It's like, wow, this guy has personality. He could dance. He could talk. Like, you know what I mean? Even in wrestling, there was a little bit of that.
well, it couldn't help because that's who I was in the back. I mean, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, when he took me under his wing, the reason why he took me under his wing is my mouth was as big as his. Uh, and I could talk it all day. It's just that I did what was asked of me in wrestling, and I had a lot more in my bucket. But sometimes to build the card, to play your role, it was when I was with Alberto, it was his time to shine. So it wasn't my time. My work would get me to the next level. I needed to be snug. I needed to be aggressive. I needed to fall on the sword for Alberto, because that's what my role was, and I took it and I did it at a high level. I always knew that there would come a time when the mic would fall in my hand and I would be able to show my skill set. So I would be ready. You don't always have to show it all the first time, and you kind of build it. But um, FCW, they all knew about it because I would do Dusty like stuff, and I would at practice I was always talking trash and making jokes. It's just who I was. And when I made jokes in the locker room one night, and apparently the boss man, Mr. McMahon, was walking by and he heard me cracking jokes. And he, his thing is he loves to dance. Like that's Vince likes to sing and dance. If you've seen any of his stuff coming up when he was, especially when he was younger, he was, that was his thing. And he has a real passion for it. So if he wants to, and somehow he equated cracking jokes and being a smartass with dancing, don't tell me how you connect the two, but that's what he wanted. And when it got thrown to me, I was like, "Can I go to Dusty for a week or two and kind of figure it out?" And they said, "Sure." And then I got with Dusty, and he was like, "You just you're mine, so you got to do it like I would do it. When they put the polka dots on me, did I complain? I had a family to feed, so I did it. He's like, so they're putting you in a red tracksuit. So what are you gonna do with it? Are you that good? Are you so good no matter what they throw at you, you make it work, or are you one dimensional and all you can do is be a heel? And he threw the challenge at me, and I accepted it, and I looked at it that way. And when I look back at the Funkasaurus, I think that's probably my greatest contribution. Um, to the wrestling world. It was a little bit of a rewind, a little taste for a lot of the younger fans to get a taste of what it's like to be in the ring with Junkyard Dog or the American Dream Dusty Rhodes. So I take a lot of, or Johnny Valiant, I take a lot of pride in having a character like that. And when the time came to put hands, Funkasaurus could do that. Old Brodus Clay could do that. But dancing with the kids and stuff in the ring and it's funny because time flies so fast. You'll have people that will stop you and be like, "Hey, I was in the ring with you in Jacksonville, Florida," and you're like, "Oh, hey, cool, man." And that's like you're a happy memory for somebody who went to an event, and that's kind of what the goal of being a professional wrestler is all about. You send them away with a memory, and you want them to come right back next week. So, I'm very proud of the, as I talk in fourth person, I guess. I'm very proud of the Funkasaurus and Brodus Clay.
Whose like ideas to name Funkasaurus and Planet Funk and the Funkadactyls? Who's that?
Okay, so I was working out at Hard Knock South with Rob McIntyre. He's Cena's trainer, and Cena had opened up his private gym for us, and I became a member of Hard Knock South. And one of the nice things about going in there is, you go in there and you're working out, but you're also in an environment, you're in an athletic environment with people in the business. So you kind of throw things on the wall while you're trying to figure something out. And I didn't like any of the names they had came up with. So we were just trying to think, and Rob McIntyre has a tremendous background in music. Like he plays the bass and drums, and he's really into music and lyrics and stuff. So we were just messing around trying to think of what are we going to do with this? And Bootsy Collins video was on or something like that, and I was like, something funky. I don't know, and then it was just like there's all kinds of stuff that came out, and then out of nowhere, I think it was Rob or me that said Funkasaurus. Oh, he was like Funkasaurus, like yeah. And then we started laughing about it. Funkadactyls was easy because it was like, oh well, the Funkadactyls, with Funkasaurus and the Funkadactyls. I'm sure there was no way at all that there was a Flintstone reference in there at all. And then it just kind of came together. And then originally, Matt Stryker, when he was announcing me on Superstars, he always said I was from Planet X. So so Planet X became Planet Funk. So I mean, it took a village to come up with all the ideas, and even the dance into the ring and stuff. King Haku was telling me like to do this more, smile more, and then one of the toughest guys to ever put on a pair of tights is telling you what how to dance and have fun out there and how much he loved it, then you do it. So, like I said, I had a lot of positive in my peers. I'm Kofi and Tavita and just Big E and all the guys would come around and they would all support when I do the rehearsals coming out and stuff. So I mean, it was a really positive time.
Pretty cool. Like Dusty and Haku are big
Yeah,
proponents of the character.
yeah, oh yeah, they had a huge hand in it. Dusty rest his soul if he was here would take full credit for everything he did. He would literally say, "You owe me a check, Brodus. You should be sending me a check every week because I gave you gold, I gave you jewels, and you're doing something with it." So, as he said, I painted my canvas. I still continue to do that.
What do you think's the best piece of advice Dusty ever gave to you?
Just what I just said. He It was my last actual day with the WWE, and I went to the Performance Center. I wasn't booked on the road. I went to the Performance Center to roll around because it had been like a week or two, and I started getting stiff. And usually when I would go in there, there'd be a bunch of wrestlers and stuff in there. But I went in there, and for some reason there was nobody in there, and it was just him. So I don't know if he arranged it or whatever. And he was playing Neil Diamond because he liked to, and just in the room, and I'm rolling around the ring, and he came in. I heard the music come on, and he came in, and he was just sitting there. Told me to come sit with him for a while, so I did, and he started talking to me about how I need to paint my canvas, that I have not reached my full potential, and some of that is being held back. Some of that's on me. He's like, but you got to find, what balance, and you got to paint your canvas. You got to tell your story. You got to do it your way. You can't do it their way. If you're frustrated, you got to look at things and what you're going to do. And he just kept pushing about painting my canvas, telling us, what's going to be my legacy. How am I going to be remembered in this business? And I took it to heart. And I didn't know that would be the last time that we'd ever spoke, but it was, unfortunately. And I was released the next day, so he probably knew, but he's old school through and through, and he wouldn't be teaching me a lesson if he would have told me. So it was another life lesson from him, and a great one, because I did paint my canvas, and I was inspired to show them that they made a mistake on me, and I think I've accomplished that. So that would be the most. I mean, he had a million. I mean, a million. Half the time I was with him, we rarely talked about wrestling. It was about life. So, but some of those things are private. But that's probably the biggest thing from the American Dream, was to paint my own canvas, and I use that term all the time.
I know you mentioned getting released and stuff, but do you have a high point there? Like, was it like the WrestleMania thing? Like, what was the high point for you when you were there?
Oh, there's a lot of them. You know, ripping Edge's arm through the post at WrestleMania was pretty cool.
Yep.
Having matches with TJ Wilson in Mexico, and tearing the house down. Every time I was in the ring with Heath Slater or Sandow, it was just having fun. Tagging with Santino was the best. I mean, I can't. They're really, like I said, the only bad time in the WWE was downtime, because you tend to overthink, and there was a lot of overthinking. But there was, I mean, I was the first opening match in Russia. I think I wrestled. It was JTG. I wrestled in Russia. Um, Walking out in the Staples Center to a packed house chanting Funkasaurus was pretty cool. I mean, there's so many. There's just so many. Still, and I'm my canvas with my wrestling brush. So, um, yeah, I really can't. Like I said, I don't focus. And if you focus on the bad times or whatever, if you really look at it, you have to take responsibility. With your attitude and being frustrated, and things like that. But that's part of the beast. That's the nature of the beast, and it's that's why only a select few do it at a high level.
What about now? I know obviously you just won Always Ready, beat Mims. Like, what do you think now about NWA and your position, and sometimes wearing the title on TV?
Yeah, I wear the title on TV pretty much every time I'm on it, and that's for two reasons. One, I'm the current NWA World Television Champion, and two, NWA is history, and I think it's important never forget where you came from. And the NWA is a different style. It's an older style. It's more the traditional style. It's less loops and flips and back promos and stuff, and more story-driven, aggressive, physical wrestling, and that's kind of our niche, and I'm enjoying it. And I mean, beating Mims soundly at Always Ready. I'm now, I've originally it was, you had seven title defenses with a World Television Championship, and then you could cash it in for a title shot. But I just felt a prestigious title like the you don't cash that in. So I would say, by hands down, I'm number one contender for 10 pounds of gold. So, my goal is to unify the titles, and like the Midnight Express did with the United States Tag Team Championships and the World Tag Team Championships. So, yes, they had to surrender the United States Tag Champions after that, but at least for one day or one TV taping, they were unified tag team champions. So, my goal is for one day be the unified World Television NWA champion, at least for one day, then surrender the title and then go from there. But Trevor Murdoch's he just recaptured his, so I'm not sure he's in a huge rush to let it go yet, but I'm gonna have to convince him of that at a later time and date. But I'm having fun.
That's awesome. Are you always a big fan? Because that's a great, a great history lesson with the Midnight Express. Were you always a big fan?
Obsessed, obsessed. I cannot tell you how many whoopings I got sneaking up watching the Saturday Night Main Event, or running in the house to watch Superstation TBS, or getting up at 8 in the morning to watch Mid South. Like I was watching it constantly. Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock, and then Tuesday nights get my homework done so I can watch TNT or primetime wrestling. Like I was hooked, absolutely hooked.
Wow, I didn't realize you were such a fan. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm called a historian. So when I come to venues and events, I will find the oldest veteran in the building and let the mind picking begin. So yeah.
Do you have an all-time favorite?
All time favorite, probably. I love the American Dream in WCW and Georgia Championship Wrestling, and even when he came. But the wrestler that just whenever he came out, I would run to the TV was Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Like Mr. Wonderful was just how he would take forever to get in the ring. I just would just make me laugh, and I would just be like, he'd do the whole thing where he'd push his hand back, and I was doing that at school all the time. I was just
Yep.
absolutely obsessed. Andre the Giant, I was a big fan of Andre the Giant. Anybody in the Heenan family got my vote, except for brother. But and then the other side, the Horsemen were where it was at, but Dusty and Nikita and how they switched out Barry Windham and Lex Luger and all that stuff. I was hooked on all that. Like there was not. I mean, I even watched GWF at ESPN when I stayed home sick from school. So I mean, it
Yeah.
was just not anything wrestling that I didn't watch and still don't watch. I still do uh, film study literally every day. I'm doing something, watching a match, trying to find something new here and there, because you're always learning. And as soon as you stop learning in wrestling, it's time to move on.
That's awesome. That's such a great fan. I used to watch Global when I get home from school. I mean, and pop it on ESPN back in the day. But
Yep.
great reference, Mister Wonderful. That's a good one. Him and Hogan, man. Whew, what an awesome feud, man. They made a ton of money.
And he was just, yeah. I remember when he got pinned at WrestleMania, I cried.
Really?
And I was
Wow.
yeah, so mad at Bob Orton for hitting him with the cast. I was furious. Couldn't
It
believe
was all
why they didn't blame Bob. Why are you blaming him? Bob hit him with the cast and never got Piper and him breaking up. They'd be pissed off. So, but that feeling, that anticipation of being hooked, and when you're a kid and you're hooked on the wrestling, there's nothing. It's just, and I know times are different now, but when you didn't have the internet and stuff, and you didn't know the magic trick or whatever, and all you had to do was sit back and believe. That's what made wrestling so great.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember I was really little when Hogan lost to Warrior. I hated Warrior for years. I never forgave him for beating Hogan. I mean, it's those kind of moments when you're like a true fan. You get so invested
Yep.
in it.
Yep. You throw down your walk away from it, and you say it's stupid, and you get mad, and you there's no way, he should have kicked out of that. It's just a leg drop. I say that all the time, but something about Hogan's leg drop was just better than everybody else's, I guess.
Yeah, come on, he's 6'8", and he gets that height, you know.
Yeah,
But
I
as
forgot. He's 6'8". That makes me 6'10". But all good.
yeah, yeah, true.
Yeah.
So as we wind it down, we head towards the finish here. Like, what's next for you? What do you got on tap for us?
Well, I got book signings. Of course, I've got the pay-per-view August 27th, 28th at the Chase, St. Louis. I'll be defending my title there. I'm not sure my opponent yet. It is yet to be named. But I'm getting ready for that. I got book signings that are coming all over the country, so stay tuned for that. And of course, you can catch me on the Greg Gutfeld Show and all kinds of shows on Fox News, pretty much Tuesday through Friday. So then the Gutfeld Show is 11 o'clock at night, and then of course you can always check me out on Instagram. It's Tyrus Smash, and Twitter is Planet Tyrus. Both verified. Those are the only two forms. Sorry. Those are the only two forms of social media I have, and they're both verified. So if it's not a blue check, and it's not an Instagram or a Twitter, it is not me.
Give us one last push for the book and where everybody can get it. Just Tyrus, a memoir.
Just Tyrus, you can get it where all books are sold: Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million. They are back in stock. We're on our third reprint, so they're back in stock. So you should be able to get it within 24 to 48 hours now. So I know things have slowed down when it was like 2 months, but we're back. Back orders are being all filled, I believe, to this point. So we are back rolling. And the audio book, which is done by me, drops, I believe, July 7th. So you'll be able to get the audio. You'll not only be able to hear my words, you'll be hearing my words as I read it. So that was a fun process, but I got it done.
Nice. Tyrus, thank you so much for all the time. And obviously, we'll see you in the NWA. We'll see you on Gutfeld. And we got to check out the book, Just Tyrus, a memoir. So thank you so much for all the time.
Thank you, man. Have a good day.